We all know who Matt Patricia is. He was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots last season with our friend Joe Judge. I think Matt Patricia was a great defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick, but I think every defensive coordinator that has worked under Bill Belichick was good. Bill Belichick is a mastermind. He's a great defensive mind. And I'm not taking that away from Matt Patricia, but we saw him when he coached for the Lions. That defense was putrid. That offense was really bad. Is Matt Patricia the answer to taking over this defense going into the playoffs? That made no sense. You're going to start a complete unknown defense going into the playoffs. I think Sirianni has been a very good coach in the league, but for him to change this, the way he changed it at the end of the season makes absolutely no sense.
Also look at this defense the way it's been for years. Ever since the Eagles hired Doug Peterson, it's always been an attacking 4-3 defense, and the last time they were 3-4 was when Chip Kelly was coaching. I remember their defense those years were horrible too, despite having good talent. Now, they have good corner play that's being misused. They have good pass rushing play that's now being back into a 3-4 defense, which is taking away from their role as a sack machine that they were last year. They had 70 sacks.
And Haason Reddick was a big part of that. This hurts his defensive style of game.
And Haason Reddick, at one point, was one of the top 5 guys in sacks in the league, and he has 2 in the last 6 games. So he has every right to be frustrated. And same kind of thing with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown in this role in this offense, disappearing really since the 49ers game, when he was the second best statistical wide receiver in the league. Before that, they keep misusing him. They misuse their running backs. Their running game has not been the same. Jalen Hurts has been turnover prone, and they've not adjusted to that. Eagles fans that wanted their offensive coordinator being fired, I think is getting a little more justified at this point. I don't think it's completely on Sirianni, but these new rookie coordinators that have come in with their other coaches going elsewhere, it's starting to become a problem.
You can understand why the Bills decided to part ways with their offensive coordinator, and it's worked. It's worked for Josh Allen, but it didn't happen at the end of the season. It gave him a little bit more time to figure out how they're going to run their offense. Now you bring in a new defensive coordinator with 2 games left of the season. You're going to playoffs running a completely different defense where you have all these explosive players that are going to have to figure out how they're going to run this defense. This is a bad move by Nick Sirianni. If he was going to make this change, he should have made it a long time ago.
If your offense is really struggling as much as it has, like Sirianni could just take over play calling himself too. That's maybe the one thing I will blame him for, but still, most of it I think is on the game planning. It's on the coaching. We were talking about it when they played the Jets. Like, how bad was their game plan against the Jets? The Jets, who have no offense whatsoever, were able to win that game.
Zilch.
And same kind of thing here. The Cardinals have no defense. It's been abysmal all year. They're the worst run defense in the NFL, and they barely run the ball. A.J. Brown is not having this, like, world-class game. I think Goddard in a nice game and Smith in a nice game, fine, but they're not really game planning it to the best of their advantage. And their defense, which the Cardinals offense, Kyler Murray's played well, but he's not overly productive offense besides that. McBride's a nice young rookie tight end. They have no receivers to speak of, and they're lighting you up for 35 points. Something is going on here coaching-wise, game planning-wise, and late in the game, too. They're crumbling.
Devontae Smith suffers an ankle sprain. If it's a high ankle sprain, he could be out a significant amount of time. If it's a low ankle sprain, he's not going to be 100%, even if he sits out this week going into the playoffs. That's bad. And A.J. Brown, I have to give A.J. Brown a lot of credit. He knows how talented he is. He is a top 4 wide receiver in the league. The fact that he has a problem with the coach, and then after the game, doesn't throw the coach under the bus, he didn't want to answer any of the questions, and then sticks up for the coach when he knows the coach was absolutely wrong for what he did throughout the game, says a lot about A.J. Brown, says a lot about his character. For any of the Philadelphia fans that have said things on social media about A.J. Brown, shame on you, because this guy is a class act. He is a classy person. For him to come out and take all the blame for the offensive woes.
A.J. Brown has never been thought of as this quote-unquote diva wide receiver. It's not like you're dealing with somebody like Tyreek Hill that likes to run his mouth. Deebo Samuel loves to talk. His college teammate, DK Metcalf, loves to talk. A.J. Brown's never been thought of that way. He's always been thought of as more that humble type.
They lost their identity against the Jets. As soon as they lost that game against the New York Jets with all the mistakes, you could tell they lost their identity. The Jets outplayed them in so many ways in their game. If you remember the Eagles last year, they were very sloppy at the end of the season. Maybe because Jalen Hurts was hurt, they crawled into the playoffs. Against the Giants, they exploded, and then they changed everything when they went into the NFC title game. But if it wasn't for them knocking out Brock Purdy, maybe they don't go to the Super Bowl.
I think also the difference with last year and this year is last year they were playing more conservative because of Jalen Hurts and because they had pretty much the division locked up at this point. Dallas, their point differential was good, but they were never a real threat for the division because the Eagles were pretty much 2 or 3 games up the entire year. This year has not been that same case because the Eagles had that slump, and even the games they won, they struggled in. The Bills outplayed the Eagles. The Eagles won it in overtime, but they didn't look good in that game. The Giants scored 25 points on them. The Cardinals, they allow 35 points. There's definitely much more concern this year with this Eagles team than last year's Eagles team, and a lot of that has to do with assistant coaches, which that's why I don't blame Sirianni as much, but Sirianni has to figure things out, overpower himself as the head coach.